eyes.
And it says, we're like, come on, change colors. There it went.
Okay.
Can you hear us? Hello?
Probably not. No, it doesn't matter if you hear us or not. If you want to keep New Mexico out of our teeth, donate here.
You had to say.
All right.
Pardon me.
You like coffee? Talk to these guys. They sponsor us. So say nice things to them. Send them money.
Yes.
If you like smart ass t-shirts,
Among the Leaves Tees.
at tinyurl.com. Smart ass t-shirts. Probably about several hundred of them.
Yeah. Yeah. New Mexico's getting airborne Arizona. I think it's actually skipping y'all, Kermit, and getting all the way here.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, bear poop. Yeah, that's New Mexico. I've got a rant. Anybody that thinks socialized medicine run by the government is a good idea is somebody who hasn't fucking dealt with the Veterans Administration Healthcare Service, or as Greg Gagnon pointed out, the Indian Health Service, because both of them are fucking ate up from the fucking floor up. And, you know, universal health care will be run by the same idiots that freaking run the goddamn VA. I'm just not happy right now.
If you can get, if you're a veteran and can get into the VA, because their priority right now is servicing illegals. Yeah.
Got a very, very close friend of mine needed to go to the VA for a crisis.
Ow.
And walked in, told him he was in crisis, and apparently their staff meeting was much more important. So after about an hour, he got up and walked out. This is not the way to treat our veterans.
Nope.
But that's government-run healthcare in a fucking nutshell. And these little twinks running around, we need universal healthcare. It's run by the same idiots who run the VA.
Take a look at Canadian healthcare, our British healthcare, our EU healthcare, and you'll get a better picture of the reality of how shitty National Health Service healthcare really is.
Universal healthcare run by the VA. Same goddamn idiots that run the VA and the Indian Health Service, which I'm told on a fairly regular basis is not all that and a bag of crisps.
Yeah, I'm just thankful that I've got a good VA locally with Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about the Air Force guy barbecuing himself. That was just fucking stupid.
That was somebody. I don't know why his entire chain of command is on fire right now, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
Because somebody talked that boy into it.
Yeah.
And if in order to be talked into doing something like that, the butter wasn't all the way on his toast.
Yeah, and Rick asked a good question. Did he even pass a background check?
I don't know what the Air Force does these days.
Oh, yeah, Sir Brass. Active duty Air Force kid set himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy.
In D.C.
In D.C.
In uniform.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
That boy.
Yeah.
That's not something Americans do. Now, if he was Vietnamese or Chinese, yeah, that's not something. Americans don't set themselves on fire. It's not something we do.
No, the fireproof uniform definitely wasn't. He poured some kind of accelerant on himself and then had problems lighting it.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
That's not something we do. Setting yourself on fire is not the first thing that crosses American kids' minds. So he was set up. He was talked into doing it. And his entire chain of command should be getting beaten right now.
Well, you notice the problems that we seem to be having are all with Air Force people. The kid that was putting TS on the Discord was Air Force.
It was Air Force. Air National Guard.
Air National Guard.
Air Force. It's Air Force. Air Force on the weekend.
No, differ. You're out, so you can't be blamed for it.
Anywho, that's my rant for the day. I got a friend that's a very close friend of mine, my brother from another mother, who needs some VA healthcare right now, and they're too busy having a fucking staff meeting.
Yeah.
Anywho, more cheerful things.
All right. I want to talk. I'm not going to talk about Pensacon, but
Jim just got back from Pensacon and Pensacola, in case anybody's.
yeah. Did get a chance to meet Matt Skaggs and his lovely wife.
Hey, Matt's on here, by the way.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, Matt.
He's in the
Oh.
blue.
Air Force recruiting for the win. They did a superb job of hosting myself, Jonna, and Courtney down there and running us around. I had not realized how much Pensacola's changed. I got my ass so damn lost trying to get out to the base. It's like, I know I'm supposed to be, this road was not here.
The last time that you were in Pensacola, you were having to dodge Indian raids on the way to your three-masted sailing ship.
I was not. We did get into the museum, and Jonna's grandfather's stuff was extremely well received.
Yes,
and will probably become a part of their backroom historical artifacts. So that was
research.
Yeah. The historian that was taking it was very, very happy to see that level of material.
Well,
yeah.
And that sort of thing's always good for museums.
Yeah.
I now have Peace in New Mexico in my eye.
Yeah.
That stuff's museums. If you've got a good museum, medium to large museum, most of them are just delighted to get that sort of thing.
Yep. My paltry contributions. Okay, we'll take it. But the gentleman that gave us a tour was very, very good also. And he actually works there. I got a chance to get up to the foundation and see an old friend who is Kyle Kozad, who is a retired Rear Admiral now, and in a wheelchair because he fell in his kitchen and pinched his spine.
Oh.
However, he is working hard at regaining the ability to walk.
Outstanding.
And he is able to actually get up and make a few steps with a walker.
It's actually in my good eye. This fucking sucks.
Yeah. So that was great. Did not get a chance to see my old airplane because they've blocked off access to the ramp.
It was at the
security. Huh?
Nothing.
Pensacon is not a con for us writers. It is a media / suck up, pay money to get a signature or a picture with your favorite actor from 30 years ago.
It's a commercial con designed to make money for the con runners, and I knew that when we were taking a look at it.
Pop culture. If it was 20 years ago, Sir Brass.
If it's basically it's one of these cons where they pay authors from not authors, actors to set them out to come down, and they charge money to have pictures with the authors. They charge money for the authors' autographs. It's a variety of con. It's perfectly legitimate. It's just writing is not there.
There were four writing breakouts that I saw in the entire 2 days. I went to attend one of them, and none of the 3%ers showed up.
That's something.
So I ended up doing an ad hoc panel on self-publishing. And I, by the way, did throw Raconteur Press into the mix with the anthologies.
Thank you.
But it does bring up something I want to talk about. One of the discussions we had was over the use of language or linguistics in writing, because people write in different genres for reasons. Once you figure out which genre you want, but
Nothing. Keep talking. I just something caught my eye.
no, whatever. Anyway, the interesting part with linguistics is where do you use it? How do you use it? For example, and I've got a couple. Dave Weber, when he wrote the Safehold series,
He's an example of so many things.
yeah, including infodumps, but not going there. The way he indicated the changes was to take a normal name and spell it very, very oddly.
Okay.
That showed the language drift. Lee Modisette uses things like dates. And also, since Lee writes basically fantasy, he has magic systems in his. His magic systems are based on physics. So every action that one of his mages or magicians takes requires some kind of physical price to be paid. You also get into dialect. Now, I use dialect in my Westerns to a certain extent. You don't want to go overboard with dialect. If you do that, you're going to end up getting your book walled because people will get tired of it.
Well, it's also authentic dialect. It reaches a point. There was for as an example, the Deadwood TV series on Deadwood caught a lot of hell for using some non-period cuss words.
Yeah.
And it was quickly pointed out, or it was quietly pointed out, and people couldn't wrap their tiny little minds around this, was that the equivalent swear words from that period we would find amusing.
Yeah.
The swear words that would cause a shootout in the street, we'd think are funny.
Yeah.
So in order to get the same reaction, they had to use modern curse words. And it's the same thing in writing. If values for words change,
Yeah.
there's a shift. And words that would get, a phrase that would get you shot dead in the street or knifed in 1886, we think, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, how rude. And the second part of that is if you go dialect, if you go far enough back, dialect shifts enough that your readers, unless they're historians, won't understand what the hell you're saying.
Right. The other example is J.R.R. Tolkien, with the number of languages that he invented.
Language nerd.
Yeah. He invented something like 15 different languages for his books.
Language nerd.
Yeah. Yeah. And as Sir Brass pointed out, Safehold spelling, Clinton, Clinton, respelled as Clynthahn.
Yeah.
So the pronunciation is there if you just look at it. But that was the way he shifted it. Yeah, Jesse. Middle Earth was an excuse for him to play with his languages. Yes, it was. And he did a very good job of
it. The shift into what I happily refer to as hooked on phonics for names.
Yeah.
To show that your science fiction is widespread.
Mm-hmm. C.J. Shiraz, another one.
Yeah. Alan Cole and Chris Bunch in the Sten series, they had a newscaster who got killed was P''YTR J''NINGS, Peter Jennings.
Yeah.
but because they threw in the apostrophes and the Y's, it looked futuristic, and it works. It works really well. I mean, it's it's old. It's been used a lot. It has been for a good reason because it works.
Yeah. Yeah, Kermit, you and Sir Brass are both correct. Tolkien wrote the Lord of the Rings to explain the languages that he had.
Yeah.
That was really the justification for writing the book.
Um,
So there are many things that you can do, but what it comes down to is, oh, and there's one other one I have to throw in, names. Period correct names. Wendy, for example. I actually read a so-called Western that had a girl named Wendy in it. The name Wendy for a girl did not happen until 1906.
it was invented by the guy that wrote Peter Pan.
Invented by a
It
guy
was
that wrote
invented
Peter
by
Pan.
an author. It did not exist
Yeah.
before this author invented it.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's a flavor enhancer not to overwhelm the consumer.
Well, and
That's a good point.
I remember
Wally.
somebody getting absolutely unwound about the female named Tiffany in medieval period.
Yeah.
Just unwound over, I was reading this book and then it totally threw me out. Sweetheart, Tiffany is that old.
Yeah. Elizabeth Moon's another one. The deeds of
Paxtonarian.
Paxtonarian, yes. Chronicles of Narnia.
But as far as dialect goes, there were also people that got pissed off because the people in Deadwood spoke so poetically.
Yeah.
No, that's how they spoke back then. It honestly is.
Yeah.
These are people that got their learning from the King James Version of the Bible and Shakespeare, because that was the books that were available out west.
Mm-hmm.
They spoke poetically.
Yeah.
Also, I forget what don't quote me the actual numbers, but in the late 1800s, most people had like a 58,000 word vocabulary.
Yeah, we're down to like 30,000 now.
We're down to like 18. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is Lawman Bass Reeves. Yeah. The McGuffey Readers. That's another good one. There are so many things that you can do to enhance your story, regardless of what genre it's in.
You just have to balance it against your readers.
Yeah, and then there's Tom trying to find Slavic and Nordic names to close to Daddy Bear. Yeah. This is like not 18 words, K words, 18 total. Yeah. Like man or dude. The other thing is the Mountain Men. I use Mountain Men in my Western series. And there were mountain men who were extremely well read because they had the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
They had Shakespeare.
Black's Law Dictionary was in the Wild West days, the Old West. Black's Law Dictionary was something people read for fun.
Yeah. And they had the Iliad.
Yeah.
And they had the Odyssey.
Odyssey, Iliad. I mean, they had and cowboys, mountain men and cowboys, when you're stuck out there, you don't want to spend your entire time under a tree navel gazing.
Yeah.
If you will read, or if you find the old Stagecoach manifests.
Yeah.
Books were a hell of a thing. Books were always going from here to there.
Yeah.
And every mountain man would have 2 or 3 books.
And they would trade them.
They'd trade, yeah.
And most of them had memorized huge passages of the Bible, of Plutarch, of the
classics.
Black's Law.
What we consider the classics. Yeah. And also remembering that education back then
was catch as catch can.
Well, no, but if you had formal education at a small at a school, what we consider high school, which the concept is relatively new, but what we consider high school, to get out of school, you had to know your reading, writing, arithmetic, and they ran you through Latin and Greek. This was high school.
Yep. Yep. I have an late 1800s book, well, early 1900s, that my mother and dad, neither one of them graduated high school. My dad had a third grade education. My mother had a sixth grade education. Book is literally about 4 inches thick. And it's common everyday life. How to do things, how to balance books, reading, writing, arithmetic. And my mother and dad went through that book end to end. That was their education. That and the world.
And it worked.
Yeah.
If you've got Marcus Aurelius and Black's Law Dictionary and 2 volumes of the completed works of Shakespeare and the Bible and the Iliad, the Odyssey, you've got the start of a pretty good education.
Yeah. Yeah, books often got published as newspaper serials. The Penny Dreadfuls, good example of that. Zane Grey. Many of his novels were actually published as serials in various newspapers around the West. And the other thing about books too is the number of women who had reading rooms. And that was how they made their money. They weren't hookers. They weren't madams.
Had reading rooms.
They had reading rooms in their homes.
And they the number of reading rooms in Kansas City and in Abilene.
Yeah.
When the cowboys would show up, they would, after they got done selling off their beef, they would go buy a bath. They'd go get a beer or whiskey, and a lot of them would go to a reading room.
Yeah, and catch up on newspapers.
And there were a lot of book trading.
Yep.
I've got these 4 books that I've been reading for a year, over and over for a year. What will you trade? Well, I don't have those. I'll trade these. And then you go back down to Texas, the 4 different books you would read for a year.
Yeah. Kermit, that's an excellent point. West Virginia mountain farmer, great granddad with a 5th grade education. Keep up with his PhD scientist grandson. Yeah. He might not be able to get as deep, but he knew the basics. Dickens, another good one. Yeah, basically, Sir Brass, that's what they were, was an early version of a public library. Lamore wrote about that in the Californios.
Several books.
Yeah. But the one specifically I'm thinking about was the woman who had gone on the wagon train to Los Angeles and set up a reading room there and was literally making money hand over fist
bank
by getting books from the East shipped to her directly. Well, yeah, Sir Brass, it was better curated because there weren't that many books.
I don't want to say the books were meaty. There weren't the 10,000, hundreds of tens of millions of books we have now, but they were better. They were meatier books.
Yeah, they weren't 70,000 words.
Well, it was Marcus Aurelius's commentaries.
Yeah,
I mean that's some beef right there.
Yeah,
and somebody upstream, I can't see that well. Somebody upstream said something about the reading room being where the people went instead of movie theaters.
Yeah.
Remembering stage plays were all, Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
Shakespeare. The stage plays were the classics.
Yep.
And there's a story out of Old Tascosa, which used to be Amarillo. It was the Wild West Amarillo was Tascosa.
Yeah.
And I remember reading when I was there, I was in the courthouse basement, read newspaper clipping. There were some performers come in and were doing a Shakespeare play and fucked it up. Cowboys started shooting at them, ran them off the stage, and the Cowboys got up there and did the lines, the proper lines.
Yeah.
They screwed up. They screwed it up, and I don't know if they were improvising. The article didn't say. I didn't know if they were improvising or if they were being just they took Shakespeare and they screwed it up,
Yeah.
and the Cowboys ran him off the stage.
Yep, I can believe that. Yeah. Yeah, Tascosa that's actually comes into one of my westerns, or will in the future. Popular pulp was Travelogues, yeah. And that's something it's not just here in America. This was going on worldwide.
Marco Polo.
Yeah.
He published Marco Polo, allegedly world traveler. He published his reports, and people were reading them for fun.
Yeah. Classic reprints with no modern edits. Yes. That's becoming more of a thing than we want to really. Yeah. Anyway,
Not going here.
yeah. But there are so many options out there. People were reading Marco Polo's how to. Yeah.
People read Marco Polo as the gospel.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I mean, the boy was an author, had himself a fantastic imagination.
Yeah.
But
Samuel Clemens,
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain. Yeah.
Well, Stanley Burton, when he went to find Dr. Livingston, was sending back reports to the papers of daily reports. This is my day in deepest, darkest Africa, and the newspapers loved it and were printed the hell out of it, and people were buying that.
Yeah.
So they could live through Stanley on his search for this lost European professor, English professor in the wilds of Africa. People loved it.
Yep. And the reason that Europe has always been fascinated with the cowboys was the Penny Dreadfuls.
Oh, God, yes.
Because they were shipped across in sailing ships, and they hit London, and then they hit the continent. Enough with the Marco Polo. We get it. We get it. Kipling, yeah. Because people didn't travel like we do today. It was not,
It was a 3-week trip to get across the pond.
Oh, that was a short one. Depending on the wind, it could take a month or more. Same thing with travel over here. The average horse could make 15 miles a day. The average wagon train could make 4 to 6 miles a day. To go from here to Oklahoma City, which is 122 miles,
Oof.
at 4 miles a day.
Well, has anybody traveled up 287?
Yeah.
From Ichipa to Amarillo.
Yep.
You will notice there is a small town every 30 miles.
Yep.
Dead nuts on every 30 miles. Because 287 parallels the train track.
Yep.
And steam engines were good for 30 miles, then had to refill their water tank.
Yep.
So from DFW up to Amarillo, if you look at it, every 30 miles is a small town.
Yep. That's
where the water stops used to be for the steam engines.
Yep.
And it took a while for the steam engine to fill up with all that water. I love telling people always used to, why is there a small town every 30 miles? Steam engines.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. So they would load up at water at, say, Wichita Falls. Then they would take off and they'd run out of water by Electra. They'd fill up with water, take off, run out of water by Vernon.
Yep.
Load up with water, take off Chillicothe. Quanah.
Yep.
Childress.
It wasn't called Quanah in those days, but
Childress.
Yeah.
Memphis, Clarendon, Claude, Amarillo. Every 30 miles, they'd have to stop, fill up with water again.
The old border railroad out here, coal and water stops 15 to 20 miles. Yeah, because there was less humidity. So they were going through more water and the heat with evaporation. Yep. The other thing is, if to go from Wichita Falls to Oklahoma City was a 30-day trip. That was a month if you were traveling by wagon.
Oh, I believe it.
Now it's 2 hours. If you're flying, it's less than an hour.
You barely get to cruising speed before you're descending again. That's flying out of DFW into Wichita Falls. Everybody, it's like you go up, hit cruising altitude, and go down.
Or like the day we had to divert to Lawton because of thunderstorms here. We sat on deck in Lawton for about 45 minutes. And I'm chatting with pilots, and I said, well, hell, you guys could almost file VFR and get down there. And the pilot kind of looked around at me and went, man, that could be fun. So we literally went from Lawton to Wichita Falls, VFR at 5,000 feet in a jet. That was a quick trip. It was literally about 10 or 12 minutes. And it was up and down.
Yep.
Boop. Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to several pilots for the local American. I was about to say Air America. Whew,
Yeah.
American Airline affiliate that flies from DFW to Ichipa. And everyone would say, "Yeah, we hit cruising altitude and then started a descent."
Yeah. Yes, that is where the expression "I'm out of steam" came from, because they were. My grandfather was a railroad engineer. My maternal grandfather was a railroad engineer in the late 1800s, early 1900s. He worked for Atchison, Peak, and Santa Fe, and later for Union Pacific as a investigator. So I have a number of pictures, brownie size, which is about 2 by 2, of explosions of engines
Oh,
all over the West because they ran them out of water.
apparently Wallbanger's on the way down.
Ah,
Let us know when you get here.
be in Wichita in 7 hours. Okay.
Somebody did something.
I don't know who that was.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Cyber Luddite, have a good day.
Oh, Wallbanger's closing on the acreage in Ichipa County.
Yay.
Well done. I need to take a look at that.
Yeah. No, Kermit, he was not. Now, that was done before his time. But one of my former flight engineers in the Navy, yeah, it is Taco Tuesday, yes. One of my former flight engineers in the Navy is now a railroad examiner engineer, and he had to qualify on steam trains because his AOR, area of responsibility, includes Union Pacific's yard in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Oh,
So he is actually certified to drive big boy and has. But the other side of that is he is out of Utah, Ogden, Utah. So when they do the Centennial Golden Spike thing, he gets to drive one of the steam trains.
oh, wow.
Yeah, pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl vet. Uh-huh.
Yes.
We need to get Tom Rodney back down here.
Yeah, April.
Yeah.
You'll be in the peanut gallery on Thursday. Yeah, it's going to be a peanut gallery. Tornado Tuesday. Yeah, hopefully not.
We are, however, going into our 9-month tornado season.
Yeah. Well, actually,
We've got winter and tornadoes.
well, actually, if depending on where the dry line decides to settle down this year,
No kidding.
the dry line, literally, we are on the dry line.
It parks.
Huh?
It parks.
Goes from Marfa, Texas, through us all the way to the Great Lakes. And it shifts 5 to 10 miles either side of that line,
It's not supposed to friggin' park
which is why we get to see everything start.
and then go away.
And the other thing is we can see tops of clouds about 150 miles away, especially when they get up 40, 50,000 feet.
Also, we're in North Texas, which is flat.
Yeah.
We can actually see the I had to convince Rita that the storm clouds she saw forming south of us were actually forming over DFW.
Yeah.
What do you mean? It was forming over DFW, baby. That's 200 miles away.
Yeah.
Can't be. Oh, honey, trust me.
Flat enough to, yeah, if you stand on a dime, you can see the dog for 2 weeks.
Well, it's not West Texas.
No.
It's not as flat as the Panhandle, which I miss so very much.
Or Nebraska,
Or
or Kansas.
Nebraska. Ooh. Not as flat as the high plains, which I friggin' miss, but it is kind of flat.
Yeah. Somebody got bored in Iron, North
No
Texas.
kidding. Steamrolled it.
Yeah.
I do miss the Panhandle. I don't miss what it is now.
Yeah.
It's changed greatly since I was there, which I can't believe was 30 years ago.
Well, everything changes.
Yeah, but not like that, not that quick.
Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse.
This Steamroll was not for the better.
Yeah, Wally, you're probably like me. You don't do well around trees that block your sight for any distance. That was one thing that always made me uncomfortable being back on the East Coast.
Trees?
Yeah. Kind of flat on your. Shut up, Jesse.
Some people's kids, I swear to God.
Sometimes for the cartel, sometimes for the Californians. Yep.
And now I've got dirt in the other eye.
Yeah.
At least that's the bad eye. So
Yeah. Well, Brennan, considering where you came from, yes.
I grew up in the jungle and in deserts and in mountains. And
Well, the problem, Ag, is yeah, those trees are making it easy to hide the sniper, but you don't have a shot. I mean, you're looking at shooting 150 yards maximum. You know, you get out where we are, and you're
that's-
looking at 1,000 yards.
That's what the chain gun's for.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
You cut the tree down with the chain gun and don't worry about it.
Yeah. Fritch. Oh, where is that?
Fritch?
Yeah.
It's out.
Is that hill country?
No, it's out Panhandle. It's south of. Hang on, I have access to some total
Yeah.
of human knowledge in a little black box. If
Yeah.
I remember right, it's famous for tater salad.
Ah. Yeah, Dan, there are people that are paranoid
Oh,
about.
it's south and east of Lake Meredith up in the Panhandle.
Oh, okay. There are people who are also freaked out by the big sky, as we call it, where you can't judge because
No,
there is nothing out there. Curvature of the earth, standing on the ground, you can see roughly 8 miles if it's flat. Oh.
yeah, by Borger. Borger. Woo!
Uh,
Hutchinson County. That's a fun county to work. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, my daddy was in Borger when it was the oil boom.
Borger's a fun place to be a law enforcement.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't
Fun.
it hasn't fallen far from what it was back in the 1920s.
It still thinks it's in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Is Borger the place where that one guy coated the runway in carbon black because he had so much of it and he wanted to?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'll look north 70 miles to the mountains above Flagstaff. Yeah.
I miss the one thing I like a rocky beach. I miss that. Other than that, I can live anywhere. Jungles don't bother me. Desert doesn't bother me. High plains don't bother me. Where we are right now, it freaks Jonna out a bit.
Yeah.
And Rita
There's
is
too much sunlight for John.
Yeah, there's
Huh?
and Rita's a hill girl. She's from the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And Ozarks are beautiful. They really are. I'm a big fan of the mountains with some age on them.
Yeah.
Rockies and the High Atlas the Atlas Mountains, Rocky Mountains. They're nice.
Yeah.
The Appalachians, the Ozarks, those I like. They've got some character.
Yeah.
They've got some history there. Appalachians and the Ozarks, the Great Smokies.
Yeah.
I love that area. Rockies are fun. I like the Rockies. I love the Atlas, but they're young. There's no history there.
Yeah. I'm laughing at Dan. On his first station in Beale, it was weird having a cloudless blue sky everywhere. Yeah. Uh, the funny thing about that is having done tours in Bermuda and Hawaii, they always have clouds. They're islands, but they always have clouds over them.
Yeah, they're cloud magnets.
Yeah. So that was how you knew where Hawaii was. Okay, don't go that way. Those are clouds. That's an island.
I think the Tetons are the most picturesque. I've never seen them. I'm given to understand they're glorious, but the first time I heard about them, the guy that was telling my parents about Wyoming and the Grand Tetons explained what they were named after.
Yeah.
And I need to see those one of these days.
If you want the most picturesque, it's the Alps, no question.
Alps are pretty. The Hindu Kush is beautiful.
Yeah.
The Atlas, particularly high Atlas, are gorgeous. But again, I like my mountains with some character. And the old ones, so there was an internet meme about the Appalachians being older than bones. There's something about them. The mountains in Scotland, which I believe are actually a part of the Appalachians.
Yeah.
Or the ones up in New York, I never can pronounce. Anyway, they're old and they're glorious.
Cascades.
No, Adirondack, whatever.
Adirondacks.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yes, we are in the path of total eclipse in April.
We are?
Yeah.
For those of you on the Grand Tetons, big boobs.
Yeah.
It's French for large breasts.
Yeah.
And got to see those.
Yeah.
But the ones that have been there so long, they're worn down, and they've got character and stories. And like the internet says, the Appalachians are older than bones. They were there before spines were invented. Before the gods got around inventing spines.
Yeah.
They've got caves with stuff in them from before the gods invented spines.
Yeah.
And they're low and rolling and mysterious, and I love the older mountain ranges.
Yep. Monadnock, New Hampshire. Yeah, that's right. Cascades of Washington.
But like I said,
was on the right continent. Give me a break.
Rockies are nice. I like
Yeah.
the Rockies. Mountains are nice. I miss most of the time growing up, we were within at least smell of the sea. And I do miss that. Sometimes I wake up and I'll have been dreaming about, I can still smell, my dreaming of the sea. I do miss that a bit. But other than that, I can live anywhere.
Yeah. 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 I'm running Glacier View, Alaska, launching the cars off the cliff on the 4th. That's just having way too much time on your hands and being bored. But Alaska. Of course, you do have Denali up there, which is a beautiful mountain.
Ozarks, where Rita's from, are glorious. They really are.
Yeah.
Appalachians are beautiful. When we drove out to what's the name for Fantasy Raleigh.
Yeah. Raleigh.
We drove through the Great Smokies, and I was in heaven. That was great. But my preference is basically Malta. If you can find me a boulder covered rocky beach that nobody else likes and they all fuck off, I'm happy. I remember as a child, the beaches in Malta, there are very few actual sand beaches. There's a couple, very few actual sand beaches, but Mom and Dad had found this cove that you had to drive a while to get to, and the beach was all flat gray rocks about that big, and there was nothing sharp on them anywhere. They'd been ground flat by the sea and time.
Yeah.
and because it was rocks and no sand, the water was crystal clear,
Mhm.
and that was glorious. I
Well, the
love that.
Med's surprisingly clear.
Yeah, it is.
Uh, we actually tracked a Russian submarine that was down 150 feet because they forgot to turn off their running lights once. That was an easy night flight.
Well, yes.
And then, of course, all the 04s that didn't like to fly at night found out about it. So all of a sudden, all of us junior crews that normally did the night flights got kicked off so the 04s could get their own top times. Pensacola, beaches there, a lot of them. I did take Jonna and Courtney through the base on the way back out because they can't get on the main base, and showed them the pier where we did our original training jumping into the water from 30 feet with the parachute harness on, which is still down at the pier. They didn't have the LST tied up anymore down there. That was always the fun one because that was the parachute drag.
Little sailing target.
Yeah. Landing ship tank. That's where they put 30 people on it at a time. And one at a time you would go up. They would put you in this harness and then they would run you out on this basically like a chain fall.
Zip line.
No, it was just a chain fall. It was about 6 feet out to clear the stern.
Okay.
And then pull it and it would drop you in the water. And the boat was running about 4 knots. So you had to get the proper position and then get out of your harness or drown, your choice. And the boat just kept chugging along. And then they had a captain's gig that would come along and pick you up. So that was always a fun part of training.
Texas doesn't have good beaches other than South Padre Island. Texas doesn't have good beaches.
Galveston's not bad. It's not great.
It's not a great beach. It for several months out of the year, it bloody well stinks.
Yeah.
It woofy. But the great thing about that is it keeps the tourists away.
Yep. Yeah, if you go to Hawaii, you get either the white sand beaches on Oahu or the black sand beaches on Kauai.
And tourists nut to butt for miles.
Not when you're on base.
Yeah.
There are very nice beaches on base that nobody but the military can get to.
I remember going to a beach. I said Malta. We always found the pebble beaches, and there were no tourists. I remember one time we got invited to go to an actual beach on Malta, and it was nut to butt tourists. And it's like,
And
breathing my air.
Differ says, New Mexico's all beach, no line. Yeah.
Most of the New Mexico beach is in my teeth right now because of the wind.
Bellows on Kaneohe. Yeah, that was a good place to go. Oh. Galveston Island Beach is good for ham radio. Yeah, they do a lot of that all over the place. You get a lot of skip off the water if you're doing ham stuff. That's one of the interesting sidelights, if you will, of upper frequency radio propagation and lower frequency, VLF especially.
Want frequency.
Let me see what's the best way to. I will explain this very quickly. You get what is called ducting.
That's the first want.
That's where you have a very low, less than 1,000 feet, usually less than 500 feet, duct on top of the water. And frequencies in the VLF to UHF range tend to bounce in that.
Oh, okay.
For example, you as a cop with your 800 megahertz radio would go into a computer room.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever notice your radio quit working?
I had county equipment. It quit working all the time. I walk in all subs, it quit working.
That's because there was the right spacing to trap those
Oh, okay.
radio waves.
Okay.
Okay. Same thing happens over the water.
Yeah.
We were out off the Atlantic coast at a location, and we had another crew 170 miles away at a different location. We happened to both have the same channel in the water at the same time. We picked up the Soviet submarine on their buoy, on our buoy, just after our Soviet submarine went through our pattern. They had the reverse. They had our buoy CPA before their submarine CPA their buoy. So we both came back thinking that both of us had two submarines,
Oh,
which would have meant two loose submarines that nobody knew about.
oh.
And it wasn't until one of the very sharp analysts that we had at the operations center started comparing notes and went, same time, same buoy, 170 miles apart. That submarine is on this one, and this submarine is on this one and this one. And that's when we figured out finally that we had ducting that night. But we could sit in Diego Garcia in the middle of the Indian Ocean. At night in Diego Garcia, we could come up on 12 megahertz HF and talk to Scott Air Force Base outside of St. Louis, as clear as you and I are sitting here talking right now. But only at night. So that's how we used to get phone patches home. Hawaii and California can talk to each other. Yeah. You could actually go down to Redondo Beach with a CB and talk to Hawaii pretty much every night. CB to CB, which is a 5-watt radio.
Okay.
2,500 miles apart. Yeah, atmospheric bounce.
Anywho, let's see here. We've actually, the girls aren't here, so I don't have a.
Yeah, Rick, I'm not about to get into the underwater ducting. That's a graduate level discussion, to put it mildly.
Okay, what is this?
Well, when we were kids, when I say kids, teenagers, radio propagation in the AM band, we could listen to WLS Chicago down in Louisiana. We could listen to XERB out of Mexico in Louisiana, and a number of other stations, including a talk radio station, KGO San Francisco.
Anyway, the ladies are on the way up here from Baton Rouge, and they may or may not be going by Boca Chica because science fiction rockets. I don't know.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
be here sometime tonight. So ladies will be here for Thursday.
Rick. This was long before Clear Channel.
They've got James Young and Courtney will be doing a Blasters and Blades podcast tonight for the Big Freaking Robots. I don't know when it'll be aired, but they're taping it tonight. Substack. If you didn't know, Racketeer Press has a Substack, and the first of our Rising Tide podcast with Hillbilly from Three Ravens is my interview with him is up. And apparently, the intern Steve will be converting it to a podcast, or somebody. I think it's intern Steve, but I've been writing, so I'm a little confused about.
Yeah, Nancy likes your interview with Hillbilly.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you. I intend to do it. We're going to try and do one a month. I think I've got JF Holmes lined up for March. and I've got to get a lot of small publishers. I want to interview Larry Curry and Steve Diamond, not for the writing, but for the Writer Dojo.
Yeah.
I want to talk to them about the Writer Dojo, not about the writing because they do that every week.
Yeah.
I want to talk to them about the Writer Dojo.
That was another one that I recommended to the people in the.
I need to interview this one. I've got a list of small publishers that I'll be interviewing and some small authors. So we're going to try and get up a Rising Tide podcast the last week of every month. We're going to try. We'll see. It's a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. And I've got something due in 2 days, and I've been writing on it. So I just have a hard deadline 2 days from now, and I'm still writing the damn thing. So I've been a little foggy. I'm surfacing long enough. One of the things that we discovered a long time ago is I write best at night, in the dark with no distractions. Because if there's a distraction, I've got to focus on it. It's a training thing. So I've been coming down to the shop after dark, turning out the lights and sitting in the dark and writing. So far, the cops have come by. God bless them. Because John has been leaving a light on at night. And apparently somebody noticed. So I had the lights off and I was sitting in the dark, pounding away on the keyboard. And wham, 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 wham. Sir, hi, Ian. What are you doing here? And then I'm done for the night.
Yeah.
And then the other night, the store next door, they were having a drum solo.
Yeah.
So I'll be back tonight in the dark writing.
That's where he practices.
I noticed.
Because the wife throws his ass out.
I noticed.
Yeah, Jack Wilder would be another good guest for you.
I will never get Jack on the on. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
You get him audio only.
Maybe.
Jack hides his light under a bushel.
He hides his light. Never mind. No, I've got to have distraction-free writing because, and it's not that I'm all foo-foo. It's just that I need to focus on the distractions.
Yeah.
So I do my best writing in the dark at night when everybody's usually quiet.
Yeah. So I go just the opposite way. I can write anywhere. I have literally written sitting in a bar at the bar.
I'm so jealous of Rita. She can do that.
Yeah.
She can write anywhere. And if I've gotten in the zone, once I get into the zone, Rita can walk around and I don't notice. Once my mind is finally in the trench and I'm writing, it's very hard to get me out. But here recently, getting into the zone has been damn difficult.
Yeah.
When I'm in the zone, I'll write 10, 20, or 30,000 words at a sitting.
Yeah. I've watched you do it at my house.
Yeah. And when I come out, I'm hungry, I'm stinky, and I don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
But I haven't done that in years. I haven't been able to do that in years. It's really driving me nuts.
That's the other thing, folks. Write every day. Whatever it takes, write every day, even if it's 50 words.
Yeah. I try to do 400 to 500 words a day
Yeah.
because Sir Terry Pratchett was a god, and he said write 400 words a day. I try to do 500.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to do that. Rita does. But I used to sitting down and banging out 5,000 words in the evening was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing. It really wasn't. And I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because used to, about midnight, I'd sit down. Everybody in the house would be asleep. I'd sit down and I'd bang out 5,000 words by 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to do that in years.
Well, we all take different paths.
I need to get back to that. It's really frustrating the shit out of me.
8,000 word to-do list. Oh.
I've actually written fuck.
Yeah.
500 times.
A gentleman who shall remain nameless sent me a copy of one of his outlines, and it was 16,000 words. And that was just his outline.
I sat down one time I was told that I need to, you need to outline your stuff. So I sat down, started writing the outline, came up with a 40,000 word short story
Yeah.
or novella.
Yeah. That's a novel. At 40,000, that's a novel. A short one, but a novel.
Eh. And the thing is that's one of the ones I can't publish because Wizards of the Coast would have me jacked up on or jammed up on a IP lawsuit faster than I could sneeze.
Now, Rick, that was for one book, 16,000 word outline for one book. So,
I said, I've tried to outline.
yeah.
I said, I don't outline well at all.
No, it was not David. John Van Stryen. It was not John.
What?
John tried to write me a short story for Tales Around the
He's
Supper
tried to
Table.
do that a couple of times.
Tried to write me a short story for Tales Around the Supper Table, and it turned into another series, which he's now got 3 books in, I think.
He's done that to me a time or two. I love it. John is a good friend.
Yeah.
John Van Stryen is a decent human being. So it doesn't bother me when he calls and says, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to." So I figured.
Yeah, Richard. Things that you can do to get your mind off the situation. Sorry that she was in the hospital and sleeping, but
What?
if it works, he could get a ton done sitting with a wife in the hospital when she was sleeping. Yeah. Anything that can get your mind disassociated where you can write.
No, it's just I need to find out how I did that because, like I said, 10 years ago, it was nothing to bang out 5,000 words in an evening from midnight to 2 or 3. It's just sit down in the dark and start writing. It was nothing to do 5,000 words. And 15 years ago, I could sit down, get in the zone, and then when I was done, like I said, I'd be stinky, hungry, wouldn't know what day it was, but I'd have 40, 50,000 words written.
Yeah. Sir Brash, yes, John is writing a sequel to Summer's End.
Yes, he is.
I've read it. It's great. Bain is going to take it. So I don't think I'm saying anything out of line when I say that.
No, he's working on the Wolfpack.
Yeah, 3rd book in the Wolfhound series.
Which, man, the boy can write.
Yeah.
He really can. He is.
And thanks to Matt's wife, I figured out one of John's issues.
I don't know why.
And on that note, we've wasted another hour of your time.
Oh,
folks.
we have. All right. Ladies will be back, so we will have
The Peanut Gallery on Thursday, including
along with Wallbanger. We'll have folks in the Peanut Gallery on Thursday. I'm sure that the ladies will have thoughts about Pensacon.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm hungry.
Yeah, you and me both. Remember, folks, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. We'll see you on Thursday.
Y'all be safe.
Bye-bye.